It's the story you are tweeting about most tonight. We were trying to get our head around this when the story first broke. What would drive a mother to kill newborn babies and hide their little bodies in boxes in her garage labeled Christmas? Back in April, the panel had a lot of theories, but tonight we know Vanessa had the focus in the right spot. Police say Megan Huntsman's methamphetamine addiction is what led directly to the murder of these babies and a stillbirth of the seventh. She told officers, she said specifically, she had to choose between the drugs and the babies, and she chose drugs. So the question tonight is, does addiction explain it all, or is something more sinister here? Yasmin.
You know, Dr. Drew, you know this best. You know addiction best. But, I mean, this is just an awful story. I feel like, to a certain extent, addiction has to explain it all. I mean, when you're that ensconced in being a meth head or a meth addict, you can't think of anything else. I personally I'm not an addict. I've never been an addict, thankfully. But I've seen people deal with addiction. I've seen people deal with alcoholism, not necessarily meth. But it's all consuming. You can't think of anything else.
Well,
I can't imagine that there's something else here that's going on.
And Vanessa, in spite of you hitting the nail on the head, you're not comfortable with this. I'll get your reaction. Let me just say, Yasmin's on to something, which is that when you have addiction, it's the sole priority in your life and everything else diminishes.
I get that, and I've seen addiction firsthand in my family, but at the end of the day, I have never heard of a story of someone killing 6 babies because of their addiction. There has to be something else,
Well,
and we need to look into this father, too.
That's interesting. Joining us on the phone, I've got Lieutenant Britt Smith from the Pleasant Grove Police Department. Officer, thank you so much. Lieutenant, thank you so much for joining us. She even hid these pregnancies from the 3 daughters who had lived with her. How did she do that?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, Dr. Drew. We would all like to know how she did that. But, you know, she has 3 surviving children, and she hid those 3 pregnancies as well. So it's not just the children that ended up murdered that she hid those pregnancies. She hid them all.
And does she have anything else to sort of explain the behavior? Even I, as somebody I've seen horrible behaviors from addiction. I'm shaking my head at this one.
Yeah, we all are shaking our heads because it's just so tragic and it's so graphic.
Yeah,
and it leaves everybody just in shock of how could anybody do this. And I don't think there's any explanation that anybody could ever come up with that would explain it away.
And she's not used meth recently, is that correct?
She, as near as we can tell, she quit using meth about 2006, right in that area.
That was when the husband got arrested and he was the supplier, right?
That's correct.